This is our first look at the all new generation Škoda Superb. It's the company's flagship saloon and combi estate car. It's going to launch initially as the estate, as the combi, later this year, and it does come in for a number of changes. Now, we can't talk about the styling changes yet. This is still in development, so it's obviously covered up with funky camouflage, but what we can tell you is that the car is now slightly longer by about 40 millimeters. It's a tiny bit higher as well to improve headroom in the front and the back seats. It's actually about 18 millimeters narrower than before. The whole car itself, well, it's going to be based on an evolution of the previous generation's platform. It's going to have a range of different engines available, including 1.5 litre petrol, 2 litre diesel, and it's going to have a plug-in hybrid system with a new, larger 26 kilowatt hour battery with a driving range of up to 100 kilometers. That's really, really useful. Around the back on this combi version, there is now an increase in capacity of an extra 30 litres, and there's a pretty nifty electric cover inside as well. So when you open up the tailgate, it will also electrically slide out of the way. So that's very useful. Of course, it's not just about the combi. There is going to be a saloon version as well. That will come a little bit afterwards. Now, I can't show you what the interior of the Superb is like, but what I can tell you is that it is very different from its predecessor. Obviously, it's now fully digital inside, including a new 12.9-inch touchscreen display on the center and a large digital instrument display in front of the driver. There will also be, of course, a proper head-up display too. The interior layout has completely changed, so you'll find some things like the gear selectors in a slightly different position, and also the materials themselves are now have a much broader offering. So there's going to be a lot of different upholsteries available, including those made from recycled and more sustainable sources. Well, that's a quick overview. Now it's time to go for a drive. Well, we're behind the wheel of this next generation Superb in combi form, and we can't tell you a whole lot about the inside of the car just yet. That's going to have to wait until closer to the car's reveal. What I can tell you is what we're driving here is the 110 kilowatt diesel. Diesel in this segment of car is still quite a popular choice. It's actually having a little bit of a resurgence at the moment, so it seems apt that this is the engine we're driving with. These cars are late development prototype cars, so they're not the finished product in the terms of what customers are going to get. So some of the material trims and things like that are not finished to the usual standard. So we're not going to be talking about any of that kind of stuff today, and I actually can't show you everything inside this car. A lot of it is covered up and camouflaged until closer to the car's reveal. Today it is more about just driving this new next generation Superb to see exactly what it's like, how it's changed. The last car was a huge success story for Škoda. It's loved by people all over the world, not only for how it drives, but also for the sheer amount of size that it offers and value for money. This is a car that rivals luxury premium cars like the Audi A8 in terms of rear passenger space, but at a much more affordable price point. The engines themselves, well, you're not going to mistake the fact that this is a diesel. It does sound and feel like a diesel, but there's been a lot of refinements and changes to this. So driving it normally, it is fine. We're cruising along at 1500 RPM. There's plenty of torque on offer, as you'd expect, and we're in obviously a full DSG automatic transmission. Now, what I will tell you is that the gear shifter is no longer in the middle. It's all moved onto the column itself. What is better again though is how that DSG transmission works, and that's the first thing that really stood out when I started to drive this car earlier today, is just how different that feels. The DSG has always been a very well regarded gearbox, and for a long time it was the industry benchmark really in terms of how quickly it shifted and how it performed, and none of that has really changed with this. Instead, what I noticed immediately from driving the car today is that it seems to just work better with this engine. What I mean is, it's shifting at slightly more optimum times, especially when I switch into the sport mode. It does cruise effortlessly on the motorway too, and that's an area where the Superb has always excelled, and it's really no different here as well. That diesel engine has plenty of power always in reserve, and it is that little bit quicker at picking up if you do need to do a quick overtake. One thing I do find with this car is that it is maybe not quite as soft on these kind of longer motorway sections. The suspension does feel that little bit firmer, and perhaps that's just a little bit of a trade-off between it handling so well on back roads and on more challenging roads, that it's not quite super soft kind of carpet ride that you might expect from a large limousine of this size. Now, it's by no means harsh, not at all, and there's nobody else in this car, so maybe obviously if you're going to have a little bit more weight in the car, a few more people in the car, that will help soften it out a little bit more. But just on my own driving right now, I do feel just at times a little bit of busyness, especially just when you go over some of the sort of higher frequency stuff, some of the expansion joints and things like that. But it never it's not resonating through the cabin in that sense. You just find that it's just, there are times when, especially when you get a little bit of a sort of surface change here, that you can just sort of feel a little bit more firmness in the ride than perhaps you've had in past Superbs. I mean, I'm kind of nitpicking here. This is just very, very subtle differences between this new Superb and the old Superb. There's not a huge difference. A lot of people will probably get in and drive this and find it absolutely fine and very, very comfortable, and it is. It's by no means harsh, but it's just maybe for a car of this sort of size, this sort of nature, it could be just a little bit softer on some of the other sections of motorway. That's our first drive, the all-new Škoda Superb. It's going to make its world premiere later this year, so you'll be able to see it without all this funky camouflage, and as I mentioned, it comes both as a combi and as a saloon. If you want to know more about the car, head over to our website. It's completecar.ie. You'll find it linked in the description below, and it's a great resource for finding your next new car. If you thought the video was useful, why not give it a thumbs up and tell us what you think in the comments section below. It really helps us, but also helps the other viewers as well. Also, why not consider subscribing to the channel as well. Hit the notification bell and you'll know the next time we upload a video. In the meantime, thanks for watching. See you soon.